no question, no lies. I'm a boss bitch, and I got I'ma grind till my heart quits. Yeah, she hungry for the money, and she's all in. Cause she no slave, and she gonna win. Big bands to the side, ain't no losses. Stack bands, no ties, except for my kid. Only thing that's on her mind is to be rich, and she no slave, and she gonna win. No sleep, no sleep, no sleep. No sleep, no sleep, no sleep. Yeah, she hungry for the money, and she's all in. Cause she no sleep.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Phoenix Novell, and I want to say thank you so much for tuning into another Bawse Bitch Tips episode. In this episode, I'm going to discuss how to know that you're in love with someone. 1 second, I got to reposition myself on this chair, sorry. So, what I've learned is that you can love someone but not be in love with them. There's a very, very drastic difference between these two states. When you're in love with someone, I like to call it the stupor, because you're in a space of just wanting them in your life, loving the way that they make you feel, loving their presence, loving them being in your vicinity so much that you really can't see straight. You can't see. Logic is not in the conscious. It's not the forefront. It's there lingering somewhere, but it's kind of taking a backseat to the fantasy of them, to the way that they are stirring your emotions. And it's dangerous to be in love with someone because they can feel the energy. They can feel the weight, especially if they're not in love with you. They feel the weight, and sometimes some people are not really mature enough to not take advantage of you're being in love with them. They will capitalize off of it. They will ask for things and be completely, selfish sometimes. Not everybody, but sometimes they'll be completely self-centered because they believe and they know that just them being in your life gives you this feeling of appreciation and satisfaction. And it takes a mature person to not take advantage of that. But a lot of us, it's hard to be responsible and be careful with other people's emotions because the power is there, the power is there to take advantage of. So it's like, all right, well, this person, obviously they just love being around me. Obviously they want me in their life. So they're gonna adjust and make concessions for me based on what makes me comfortable. And I don't have to reciprocate because they don't leave any room for me to. They just make me feel like being here is all I have to do. So you're in love with someone based on how much you're doing to keep them in your life. And it's hard to see it sometimes because, again, you're assessing the way they make you feel as like, well, they make me feel this way, so it's a lot. That we don't have that feeling or get that feeling from everybody. So, of course, that feeling feels so powerful. We want to feel that. That's amazing, and we get it from them. However, sometimes it can cloud our sense of this is a healthy relationship for me, or sometimes it gets the scale off of balance because we're not thinking in terms of what I'm really losing in this relationship because we're chasing so much that high of their presence in our existence and experience, and we're chasing so much of the high of them being with us and choosing us. And we want so much for them not to walk away or feel like they can get better or do better, or that we're not good enough, that we're trying to constantly show our worth and our value, show and prove that we're good enough for them to want to be around. So it's just a very strong possibility of us compromising our sense of worth and self-esteem and value just for the way they make us feel. You can make somebody feel good, but if you're paying, for everything that they're asking for and they're not really giving you love in return or making you feel special in terms of what they're doing for you or reciprocating on a level where it really feels like this is both of us putting into here, logic has to come into play at some point. when you're in love with somebody, the chances of you getting your heart broke are extremely high, because being in love, it creates this fog. You know, in my experience, there's a fog that comes over you. It's like a trance, I'd say, or days, that when you're not in love, you see things like, you see everything, and there's a constant scale that you keep your eye on, because you're weighing it like assets and liabilities. But when you're in love, the asset is the other person. The asset is the other person looking at you in a certain way. But when they're not in love with you and they don't feel that same pull, they'll see how dreamy you are just by being in close proximity to them. They'll see how high you get, off of just showing them off to your friends and family, or taking them out and being seen in public with them on your arm. They see how much control they have over you, wanting to please them so that you don't get away. And again, that actually makes people devalue you. It actually makes people look at you as like pathetic, or too needy, or too clingy, or too, beneath me, I could do better. And so when you don't meet them, or when they don't meet you, or you don't demand for them to meet you and have that same kind of adoration for you, it's so easy for people to slip into contempt. It's like, he's all right, but he's like clingy as fuck, or she's okay, but like she's like trying to move so fast. It's like we do these things when we're in love because we feel that it's worth it. We feel like the feeling in the moment is worth it. It's worth whatever it costs, because it's like drugs, right? It's like, well, I don't care if it's going to cost me $12,000. It's worth it. The high is worth it. It's like being on drugs. Being in love feels like being on drugs. I lie to you not. Because it takes you on, like, you can't, everything else kind of takes a back seat. Everything else gets foggy. And the only thing up front is your emotional attachment to that person. Everything they do is heightened. You're looking for signs of them not wanting you, but so you're trying to pull them closer so that, they show you, oh, I'm so happy for you doing this. Thank you. You want to keep them in a state of satisfaction because you're afraid to lose them or whatever, So that's what it's like to be in love. And that's why I say it's dangerous, because if both of y'all are not in love, one person always feels the heavy weight of the other person's adoration for them. And again, not everybody is responsible and careful with that person's emotions, because it's like, well, I could just say this one thing and then they'll be spiraling down a damn web of just like, depression. Like that kind of power. Everybody can't handle that properly. Everybody can't be mature with that kind of power over somebody. And you can't choose who falls in love with you. Their heart chooses what their heart chooses. But if you don't reciprocate and you take advantage of them, it's a hard thing. It's kind of messed up, is what I'm saying, So I think it's beautiful to be in love. I'm not against love. I think that it's just a dangerous state to be in when you're the only one there. And I think if you step back and like look out for the fog, recognize, that you're kind of more in a trance, and recognize what you're doing, and kind of stay connected to the humanity of this person, rather than, oh my God, I can't see myself living without them, rather than you chasing this emotion, then you allow them to show up and to either put something in and reciprocate, or walk away because they're not really feeling it. But if you're constantly doing, you're creating this this space for the other person to just take. And not everybody sets out to take, but if you create this space for them to just receive and not really give them room to give, then you can't blame anybody at the end of the day when they find somebody who actually makes them work for it and that they fall in love with. You can't blame anybody when you get to that place. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Hopefully you learned something. And if you have any topic ideas or questions for me, please email me at askthebawse@gmail.com. That's ASKTHEBAWSE@gmail.com. Peace.
No question, no lies, I'm a boss bitch. And I got, I'ma grind till my heart quits. Is she hungry for the money? Is she so